So should I repeat or what? From where? Okay, because of technical issues, I'm just repeating. I'm just giving a quick summary of what I discussed. So we discussed the point that Krishna, being very merciful, he wanted to, although he asked Arjuna to deliberate on the instructions that he had given, he said that, okay, just now listen to this knowledge, what I'm going to give you. In two verses, he's going to summarize the entire Bhagavad Gita. So that's the most important verse. So he spoke the Sarvadharman Parityajya and Manmana Bhava Madbhakto. So with that, he said that one should take complete shelter of me, surrender to me. In that way, he will become free from all sinful reactions. That's one point. And then there is no need to fear of any other, he will be free from sinful reactions. That's the whole point. So do not be afraid, because I'm giving you this assurance, Krishna says. And then he also practically shows how one can do this Sarvadharman Parityajya. That means with the mind, one should be absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna. One should become his devotee. One should offer his homages to him. One should worship him. In that way, one can please the Lord, he says. Now, after having given this knowledge, now Krishna wants to expand the parampara, or the knowledge that he has given to Arjuna. He wants it to further distribute it to all the humanity. That's one point. Another point is that also he is pointing out who is qualified to hear this message. Who is the person who is qualified to hear, and who is the person who should not hear. And also he is giving what is the result of hearing this message of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So now, in this verse 67, he is pointing out four people who can, in fact, you can say there are four categories, you can say. One who is not austere, na tapaskaya. Then he says, one who is not his devotee, na bhaktaya. Then he says, nacha shushrushaveh. He says that one who is not engaged in his devotional service. And then he says, another person who is not eligible to hear this is that one who is abhyasuyati, one who is envious. So four persons. One who is not austere, one who is not a devotee, one who is not engaged in devotional service, and then one who is envious. They are not eligible to get this message of Bhagavad Gita. So in the purport, Prabhupada further points out, he's listing all these four kinds of people in the beginning. Then he goes on to he's showing all these four what we discussed. Actually, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not understandable to those who are sensuous. Even if one is not sensuous but is strictly following the disciplines enjoined in the Vedic scripture, if he's not a devotee, he also cannot understand Krishna. So that's the point, is that one may study Bhagavad Gita, one may study so many varieties of scriptures, but if he's not devotee, if he's not having faith on the words of Krishna, if he's not accepting Krishna to be the Supreme Lord, if he's not accepting him, our position as the constitutional servant of the Lord, he will also not be able to understand what Krishna is trying to explain here. Then, and even when one possesses himself as a devotee of Krishna but is not engaged in Krishna conscious activities, this is the point. We may attend Bhakti-śāstra course, we may read Bhagavad Gita. Well, that's all those things are very good. Then what are you doing practically for Krishna? What you're doing in your life? Do something for Krishna. You make a garland, collect some flowers. You can help in collecting funds for the temple. You can help in bringing vegetables for the deities, or you can grow vegetables for the deities. You can. There are umpteen number of services, so many different kinds of services that one can practically render to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So a devotee means he will do something to show his love for Krishna. So definitely hearing and chanting is one aspect of that. And then also practically do something for Krishna. So that's why Prabhupada is saying that engaged in Krishna conscious activities, he says. And this is the secret, If really somebody wants to become a devotee, that one has to engage in the service of the Lord. We also, when we try to, even from day one, people should be engaged in the service. That's when the whole one can become a devotee of the Lord. That's how it is possible. Otherwise, it's not possible to become a devotee of Krishna. That's why we should, even when in our preaching or whatever that we do, we should try to engage people in Krishna's service. Okay, one side we give the philosophy, we try to then engage them. Do something for Krishna. Okay, carry this rice bag. Go and bring some flowers. Go and then try to clean the temple. Do something for Krishna. So in that way, we express our love to the Supreme Lord. So that's why Prabhupada. Also, you can see. Prabhupada's unique translation of the word bhakti. Bhakti means it's not some kind of, some emotions, and definitely emotions are there. But then those emotions are expressed through service. Devotional service. The word bhajati, Prabhupada you remember in the 647, Prabhupada is translating very nicely. Devotion, he's not saying devotional service, he says. That's the whole point. So Prabhupada here, you see how he's pointing out. So when one is sensuous, he cannot concentrate on anything. Simply eating, sleeping, mating, defending. This is what he's interested in. Then one cannot become a devotee. When one is not a devotee, then he will really not like to do anything for Krishna. So some people will be simply, there was one of my friend who was in Chennai. He will be interested in discussion and all those things. And when you ask, hey, come, we need to, clean the temple hall now, please come. Oh, I have some important work to do. See you later. Krishna is the supreme personality of God. He is the master of this entire universe. You cannot spend some conscious hours for him. Or some people may think that, it's not for my dignity. The way the family in which I was born, he was saying they're born with some silver spoon, they think. So better to surrender to Krishna and engage in his activities. Then the knowledge will be revealed. It's a question of surrendering. It's a question of giving our life. It's a question of how much we are absorbed in the words of the Lord. So then we can develop attachment to Krishna. Otherwise, it's not possible. It's very difficult. So here he's rejecting. Such a person also cannot understand. Then Prabhupada is pointing out, there are many persons who envy Krishna because he has explained in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the supreme and that nothing is above him or equal to him. There are many persons who are envious of Krishna. You can see. They come up with various interpretations about the Bhagavad Gita. Now I have given a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. Don't surrender to Krishna. Actually, you have to surrender to... actually, it is not referring to Krishna. It is to the unborn within Krishna. Or they give interpretation something like this. Oh, Krishna means black. Black means dark. Dark means, it's unknowable. Some vague nonsense they speak because it is all out of envy over Krishna. This is the whole point. So these four category of people can never surrender to Krishna. They can never understand the message of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Who should not comment on the Bhagavad Gita? Prabhupada is pointing out. So without understanding Krishna from the authority of a pure devotee, one should not try to comment upon Bhagavad Gita. This is a very important point. So one has to learn under the guidance of a bona fide devotee. Then he can preach this transcendental message. Then one can get the mood in which Arjuna understood. How Arjuna understood from Krishna, we can also imbibe the same mood. That's why whenever we distribute books also, we say, this is Bhagavad Gita as it is, as Krishna has spoken to Arjuna. That mood you will also get by hearing in parampara. Only in parampara we can get this message. That's why Prabhupada was very furious when people misused Bhagavad Gita and then they gave their own philosophy. It is something like this, Prabhupada also said, Srila Prabhupada said this. Someone is smoking cigarette through the other person's hand. Can you imagine? You want to smoke a cigarette. So what do? Instead of taking the cigarette in your hand, you're using other person's hand and smoking cigarette. Then what? When somebody comes, what will say? Okay, this fellow is smoking cigarette. They will try to point out that this is a cheater. So what they're doing is they are using Bhagavad Gita for giving their own ideas. Prabhupada is furious. If you want to speak some nonsense, you speak nonsense. Why are you using Bhagavad Gita for that? These are all the envious people actually. So this is the point, okay? Here Srila Baladev Vidibhushan Prabhu is pointing out that it is a traditional custom that the teacher should tell the disciple not to reveal the knowledge to the unqualified person, because that is the custom, he says. And he's giving a reference from the Vedanta Sutra. Anavish kurvan anvayat. So naturally one who is not, because he will be an offender, so do not teach. So we will churn more on this. Krishna is going to speak more about this. Text 68. Yaidang paramanguhyam mad bhakteshvabhidhasyati bhakting mai param kritva mame vaishyatya sankshayah. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. Krishna says, Ya idang paramam guhyam. Paramam guhyam means the most confidential secret. Mad bhaktesh abhidhasyati. So one who is explaining this to the devotees, he says, Bhakti mayam mai param krutva. So one will, what is the result of that? You develop pure devotional service. And at the end, they will come back to me. Krishna says, these are the results. Krishna is giving assurance. So that's why Prabhupada very much wanted to distribute this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to everyone. He was very much urging everyone to distribute Bhagavad Gita as it is. So in that way, the person who is giving the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, the person who is speaking, the person who is hearing, both are benefited. Now here in this purport, Prabhupada is trying to point out, those who do not accept Krishna as he is and Bhagavad Gita as it is, should not try to explain Bhagavad Gita whimsically and become offenders. Okay. And Prabhupada further points out, it is a subject matter for the devotees only and not for the philosophical speculators. That's true. Who can understand further about the details of the Bhagavad Gita? Only a devotee will understand. Unless one becomes a devotee, he cannot understand this message clearly. You'll be they will speculate, they will interpret, they will give all wrong conceptions. Anyone, however, who tries to sincerely present Bhagavad Gita as it is will advance in devotional activities and reach the pure devotional state of life. So another aspect also here, one should preach the message of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. You don't give your own, don't add anything, don't subtract anything. Present the message as it is in parampara, as given by Krishna to Arjuna. So this science you will learn only when you hear from the bona fide spiritual master. That's what yesterday we were discussing. If not for Srila Prabhupada's purpose, you would have never had a clear idea, understanding of Bhagavad Gita. One of my friend used to say, he used to regularly read in the Hindu, this magazine, Hindu magazine. In the Hindu magazine, there is always used to be one small column wherein there will be a spiritual subject matter. Always you can see there will be a big newspaper with 20, how much, I don't remember now, maybe some 15 or 16 pages, all long size pages are there. And then you'll have a small column on the corner about spiritual information. And that spiritual information, the thought for the day, something like that will come about spiritual subject. He says, many times I have tried to hear that message of the Bhagavad Gita, I could hardly understand anything. He said, till he got this Bhagavad Gita as it is. There are so many people say so many things. They use Bhagavad Gita to give so many different kinds of interpretation. People get confused. But a person who is sincerely presenting the true message as it is, then Bhagavad Gita is such a nectarian knowledge, such a nectarian message, which is really for the benefit of the entire humanity. One will be benefited. Okay, so here Krishna is giving a warning also. Prabhupada is giving a warning that who are the whimsical people can become the offenders. They will not be able to understand the message of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, now let's go to text 69. Nacha tasman manushyeshu kaschin me priyakrittamah bhavita nacha me tasmad anya priyataro bhuvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, or will there ever be one more dear? So this is an assurance Krishna is giving. Anybody who who engages in preaching this message, Krishna says that he becomes very dear to him. So, nacha tasman manushyeshu. So among the entire humanity, kaschin me priyakrittamaha. He becomes very dear to me. He says, more dear. Bhavita nachame tasmat. So he says, an anya priyataro bhuvi. In this entire planet, there is no one who will be more dear to me than such a person. Now, Krishna goes on to explain about the results of studying this Bhagavad Gita. Adyeshyate chaya imam dharmyang sangvadamavayoho jnana yajnena cha tenaham ishtasyam iti me matihi. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence. Adyeshyate. Now, adhyaya also you say. Adhyaya means also practice, study. Adyeshyate chaya imam. Dharmyam sangvadam avayoho. So this samvada, the conversation that has taken place between Krishna and Arjuna, who is studying it regularly, jnana yajnena tenaham. This knowledge, he is performing it as a sacrifice by regularly reading it. Ishta syam iti me matihi. So by his intelligence, he is worshipping me, Krishna says. So there is no purport by Srila Prabhupada. There is a very interesting purport by, interesting commentary given by Srila Sridhara Swami. You will see that. The result that manifests to one who studies Srimad Bhagavad Gita is being revealed by Lord Krishna. One who sings this holy and blessed divine discourse, which is overflowing with righteousness in the Anushtup meter, or chants its verses to oneself or to others contemplating, will be considered by Lord Krishna as Jnana Yajnana, or propitiation and worship directly to him, and is the best of all worship. Even if someone is reciting the chapters and verses without fully understanding the meaning, please listen carefully what Srila Sridhara Swami says. I'll repeat again. Even if someone is reciting the chapters and verses without fully understanding the meaning, yet hearing it from inside the etheric heart as Paramatma, the Super Soul, the Supreme Lord, will accept it as pure propitiation and worship of him. Just as in everyday life, if someone calls out one's name, one will go out to that person and inquire what they want, even if hardly known. Beautiful point, no? Here he says, someone is reciting Bhagavad Gita. Dharma kshetre, kurukshetre, samaveda, yutsava. Simply is reciting the shlokas. Okay? He does not know the meaning. He says, still the Lord will be pleased by that endeavor, he says. And he gives the example that it's something like, there is someone who is outside the house, he's calling. He's simply calling Mahamantra, Mahamantra. And then naturally what Mahamantra Prabhu will do, he'll say, who is calling me? Okay, let me go and see. So he says, simply the Lord will just, somebody is calling me. He'll reciprocate like that, he says. Now, so this is it's very all auspicious, chanting the verses of the Bhagavad Gita, because the very sound, also the sound of the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna, they are not different. And it's very purifying. Now, there is also another point we need to consider. Srila Prabhupada once he gave an instruction to the students of the Gurukul. He said that, he asked the teachers once, so they have learnt all the verses. So can they tell the translation also of these shlokas? The teacher said that, no, Prabhupada, they do not know. He said, they should learn the translations. Otherwise, also another thing is that, what will happen? You will simply be like a parrot, just chanting the verses. But then when somebody asks you, who is the Supreme Person of Godhead, they may not know. You can just go to so many different kinds of missions and others. They conduct the Bhagavad Gita competition. My child knows 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Very nice, very nice. So nicely she will chant, they will say. And if the teacher who taught, they also do not know who is Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are very famous. Purushottama Yoga. They will say they know. But who is that Purushottama? They do not know. Neither they will teach the child because they themselves do not know, nor they will accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it should not become like that. But here, what's the point that we are trying to discuss is, Krishna is the Bhakta Vatsala. He is so eager to reciprocate with his devotees. Are you getting the point? So this is the whole thing. Now you see again some more beauty what he's saying. He's giving, Srila Sridhara Swami is saying, in the same way, Lord Krishna approaches that someone who chants or sings the verses of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This is not mere conjecture. It has been proven with evidence with the story of Ajamila, who called out to his son Narayana, which happens also to be a name of the Supreme Lord at the moment of death, and pleasing the servants of the Supreme Lord were saved from a hellish existence. So there should be no doubt about this. So it's very, very nice that the children at the young age learn these verses. Then gradually we also teach the meanings of it. Although they may not understand, but when they come to the understandable, when their understanding begins, they will be able to appreciate. It's a very strong impression that goes into the heart. So for us also, every day, we can make it a habit to recite one chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I would just like to tell His Holiness Prahladananda Swami, maybe by now he might have read the Bhagavad Gita as it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying how many years back? Maybe some 8-9 years back. Once we were traveling with him, we were asking him. Maybe he just at the time he has read some Bhagavad Gita some 160 or 180 times. Maybe by now some 250 times he read the Bhagavad Gita. He knows the translation of it. He knows the entire purport also. He can just quote from anywhere. The point that I wanted to say is it's not possible for everyone to do that. But every day, he will read one chapter, I think. There are so many devotees in our movement who regularly read the Bhagavad Gita as it is. They chant one chapter or they recite the verses regularly. And it's so purifying. And Krishna is pleased. And we also, very much we are inspired by reading the purports of the Bhagavad Gita by Srila Prabhupada. It's a very good habit. You know how much time it takes? If you just see one chapter a day. I think in one place, Prabhupada, even in one of the letters, he says, every day you read one chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Somehow I did not have time. There's a nice quote. He says, every day you read one chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he says. So like that here. So you see, here, Srila Sridhar Swami is pointing out that how Ajamila, he called out the name of Krishna unknowingly. He called out Narayana, right? He was very pleased. I have another alternate translation of this Sridhar Swami's commentary. I'll read that also. He says, even if someone simply repeats Gita, like chanting japa, without understanding it, I shall know that he is revealing me alone. Just as when anyone casually utters the name of someone at any time, the later thinks that it is he who is called and comes to that person. Even so, would I approach that man who reads Gita. Hence, I am pleased by the mere utterance of my name by Ajamila and Shatrabandhu. So shall I be pleased with one who reads the Gita. So what he's saying is Ajamila and Shatrabandhu. Ajamila was a fallen Brahmana. When he chanted Krishna, he didn't see the qualification or anything. Although he performed all abominable activities. When he chanted the name Narayana, Krishna came to rescue him. Right? Similarly, Shatrabandhu means one who may be a great Kshatriya also. But Shatrabandhu means he's a fallen Kshatriya, or he's not a Kshatriya, or Dvija Bandhu also sometimes we say, friend of the Dvija, he's not a Dvija. So what's the point? The point is, even however most worst condition a person is, if he takes to the recitation of the Bhagavad Gita, if he hears the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will be very pleased. That is the essential point here. Okay. Yes. Okay, we'll continue. Text 71. Shraddhavan anasuyascha shrunuyad apiyo naraha sopi muktas shubha lokan prapnuyat punya karmanam. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. So Krishna again he gives two qualifications here. Shraddhavan anasuyascha. One should be very faithful and one should not be envious. See, he's again repeating, do not be envious of Krishna. But you should have faith in what you are studying. Shrunuyad apiyo naraha. So you listen to this transcendental message with faith and without envy. Then what will be the result? One will be freed from all sinful reactions. And then not only that, sopi muktas shubha lokan. So by the Punya Karma, so one will attain auspicious planets. One will attain higher destinations by this practice. So Prabhupada here is raising us. We may also, when Krishna says that don't tell to envious people, don't tell to those who are inimical, then what do? We turn left, right. We see up and down. Everywhere people are like this. Many people are demoniac. What do we do? But Krishna is giving such an instruction. Now Prabhupada discusses that in detail. But it so happens that sometimes a devotee of the Lord will hold open class. And in that class, not all the students are expected to be devotees. Can you just imagine? If we do like this, now we will put one person here. We will just, when he comes in, wait a minute, sir. Are you austere? And then he looks at you. And then, are you a devotee of Krishna? Are you engaged in devotional service? Are you envious of Krishna? And then, okay, get out. Can you do like that when somebody coming for the program? Because all these 4 qualifications Krishna is saying, no, if one is not austere, that means one is not engaged in sense gratification. One should be a devotee of the Lord. One should be engaged in devotional service. And one should not be envious. Then he is eligible to hear the Bhagavad Gita, he says. So should we do like that? Then Prabhupada is saying that we are having open class. All kinds of people are coming and sitting. So let's discuss what Prabhupada says. We should not be understood like that. Why do such persons hold open class? It is explained here that although not everyone is a devotee, still there are many men who are not envious of Krishna. They have faith in him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become at once free from all sinful reactions, and after that attain to the planetary system where all righteous persons are situated. So this is the key point. We may allow everyone to come and then sit and then hear, but by the mercy of the pure devotee, they may change. There could be a change that could happen. And also, in the preaching also, what do? We just try to focus on innocent people. There may be someone who will be very critical. There will be someone because of envy, will be asking, too rigid questions. Or, see, there are different categories. First of all, some people who are very innocent, they do not know. And when you have such kind of satsang program, they're very eager. They would like to come and then hear Bhagavad Gita. They would like to ask questions, and they will become devotees. There will be another category of people who will try to understand everything in little confronting way. In a sense, they may have so much faith on science and like that. And when you very systematically present the message of this transcendental science of the Bhagavad Gita in a very appealing way with sound knowledge of the scriptures, and also using the logic, and also clearly explaining the misconceptions of the or the fallacies of the science or whatever, then such persons will also get convinced. First he may not be convinced, but then he will be convinced. These are all okay. But we are speaking about the category of people who are completely demoniac, who are very envious. They don't like this gathering at all. Such persons may also sometimes come and then sit, and they will challenge. So what we should do, then we should not to be carried away by such kind of people. What we will do, we can tell them that, okay sir, I will deal with you. We will meet later separately. Now, let us not, because people will spoil the program also. So also there is, even if you have some doubts and questions, it should be asked in a proper way. So we should know how to deal in those situations. Either you deal with him separately, or you will say that, okay, we will have a separate conversation with you for 1 hour. I'll spend a lot of time with you. For now, we will let us complete the class or something like that. When the question is completely strange, or he is having a very stubborn attitude, or he is a complete outright demon, no need to waste our time and energy with him. Just give him some prasadam. Sometimes they don't even take prasadam. There are people like that also. So there are different categories of people. So, but here, the point that is being discussed is we allow everyone to come and sit, because he has some faith somewhere. Even if there is no faith, because by hearing from pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada and other great representatives who are following in his footsteps, he will become pious. That's the whole point. Okay. So Prabhupada is pointing out, therefore, simply by hearing Bhagavad Gita, even a person who does not try to be a pure devotee attains the result of righteous activities. Thus, a pure devotee of the Lord gives everyone a chance to become free from all sinful reactions and to become a devotee of the Lord. Yeah. Yeah, just one point I missed. I wanted to say there may be so even that some people maybe at the beginning they'll be like that, they'll be with the attitude of sometimes they may be, oh, what is he speaking? Who is he? They may have the beginning itself is not a very good attitude. What is this? The way he's chanting shloka, what a pronunciation. He does not even know how to pronounce properly. Maybe maybe the speaker may not know pronunciation, but he knows the essence. What is the important essence of the Bhagavad Gita? He knows Krishna is Supreme Personality of God, and we are his eternal servants. We have to engage in his service. He himself is dedicated in the service of the Lord. So that is what is the most key, and that will, hearing from such person about devotional service will create great impression in the lives of the common men. Rather than somebody may be very expert in pronouncing the shlokas, and then he can speak with different bhav and all those things, but he himself does not have faith in the words of the Supreme Lord, does not have faith in pure devotion. that will not have any impact. So the point is that if you hear from the right person with even Komal Shraddha, even a little bit theoretical faith, then one can attain proper destination. So Prabhupada further points out about Punya Karma. He says, generally those who are free from sinful reactions, those who are righteous, will very easily take to Krishna consciousness. The word Punya Karma is very significant here. This refers to the performance of great sacrifices like the Ashwamedha Yajna mentioned in the Vedic literature. He says, those who are righteous in performing devotional service but who are not pure can attain the planetary system of the pole star or Dhruva Loka, where Dhruva Maharaj is presiding. He is a great devotee of the Lord and he has a special planet which is called the pole star. So not that everyone directly goes to Goloka. So somebody may go to the higher planetary system where other devotees are practicing. In their association they will be further purified and then they will go back home, back to Godhead. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. We also heard, this devotional service is always auspicious. There is no loss here. Neha vikrama nashosti pratyavayona vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. It is only progress. There is no only promotion. There is no demotion. It's always you make progress, because whatever little service you do also, you are increasing your bhakti bank account. It is always there is the bhakti sukriti is increasing. And also Krishna, he discussed in the 6th chapter, right? Either you may be born in the family of a Brahmanas or in some aristocratic family or in the family of great devotees, and then he will just continue from wherever he has left. That is the power of pure devotional service. Sripad Ramanujacharya in his commentary, he is pointing out that he shall reach the lokas, the realms of the host of my devotees who have done virtuous acts and who will facilitate the growth of devotion in these new arrivals and lead them ultimately to liberation. So he says that further in the association of devotees, they will make progress. That will also happen, he says. Okay, let's go to now. After having heard the instruction of Krishna, now Arjuna, in these remaining verses, Krishna spoke about the results of hearing Bhagavad Gita, the qualifications to hear Bhagavad Gita, and then what is the benefit of hearing it, all those things we discussed. Now Arjuna's surrender. Now Arjuna, by expressing his surrender to the Lord, he is now going to express what he has heard and what is the outcome. The Lord now asks about the comprehension of the meaning of the scripture and the realization of the scripture. Naturally, Krishna wants to know what is Arjuna's decision, and Arjuna is going to express that. Yeah. And also we can see from now on, Krishna will not speak anymore. I think the last verse where Krishna spoke. What is the last verse? I think this is the verse, right? Shraddhavan anasuyascha shruniyad apiyo naraha. Sopi mukta subhalokan prapnyat punya karmanam. This is the last time Krishna is speaking. Correct? Oh, 67 is it? Yeah. That's the last verse Krishna is speaking. From there on, actually, who is speaking? Yeah. 67, what's that? Yeah, okay. Kachit etat shrutang partha tvayaikagrena chetasa kachit ajnana sammoha pranashtaste dhananjaya. O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind, and or your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? Sorry, this is the verse, the last verse Krishna is speaking. He says, Kachit etat shrutam partha. So, did you, tvayai ekagrena chetasa. So did you, with single pointed attention, did you hear from me? Did you listen to whatever I have spoken carefully? Kachit ajnana sammoha. Your ignorance and your illusion, is it now dispelled? Pranashtaha means is it dispelled? So Krishna wants to clarify this. The Prabhupada is pointing out why the Lord is asking this question. The Lord was acting as a spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in its proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole Bhagavad Gita if so required. This is Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, the Bhakta Vatsala, the All Merciful. He will repeat the entire Bhagavad Gita. He's ready to repeat the entire Bhagavad Gita. If Arjuna said, Krishna, nothing is clear for me. Can you repeat? Yes, I will. So this is the why Prabhupada is pointing out that he is a spiritual master. He's playing the role of a spiritual master. So he is clarifying. Did you understand? The teacher always does that, no? When the teacher is explaining something. So is it clear? Are you able to understand? So shall we proceed? Like that he asks. So he just want to see that the students are, they have understood the subject. Otherwise there is no point in proceeding something. So, the teacher is teaching basic math. He is teaching about addition. And now, without teaching about the addition, if he is going to teach about the multiplication, wherein when you multiply some numbers, there is addition is also involved. What he is going to do? Nothing you will understand, right? So, step by step, he sees that everything is understood. So, otherwise, it will become like that. After hearing the entire Bhagavad Gita, fellow says everything I understood. Then, or in that example that we discussed day before yesterday, the fellow he heard the entire Ramayana, and then he is asking, whose husband is Sita of? Sita is husband of whom? Then nothing he has understood. He has not understood the characteristics of Sita at all. So this is the whole point. So you have to understand the essential conclusions of the Bhagavad Gita, which is Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are his eternal servants. We are meant to please Krishna. That is our existence is meant to please him. So Krishna is trying to clarify here about that. Actually, anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Arjuna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. So it's so important here that this should be the result of it. By hearing Bhagavad Gita, we should come out of the ignorance. We should give up all our past bad habits, past bad practices. We should be able to overcome that if you really heard Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay. So here, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu is also pointing out that, so that is the intent. The intention with which Krishna is asking that question is that, I'm ready to repeat it for you, he says. Okay. Text 73. Arjuna uvacha nashto moha smritir labdha tat prasadan maya achyuta titosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. Very important verse to memorize. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and I am prepared to act according to your instructions. So here, Arjuna is now overflowing with full realization. He says, Nashto moha, all my illusion is now gone. Smritir labdha, I regain my memory. Tvat prasadan maya achyuta, not by my own strength, by your mercy. Achyuta, by your mercy I am able to regain my memory and all my illusions are now gone. Stitosmi gata sandeha. He says that now I am fixed, I am very clear, I am determined, no more doubts. I am free from all the doubts. And then he says, Karishye vachanam tava. Krishna says, Krishna, you just tell me now what I should do. I am ready to follow. Whatever you ask me to do, I am ready to do that. So, we all should come to this situation after hearing the Bhagavad Gita as it is. My dear Lord, I am ready to surrender my life to you. Otherwise, what's the point, Hearing the whole Bhagavad Gita and then just watching TV serials and then continuing to do whatever that we are doing, drinking coffee, tea and doing... This is all cheating. So the point is that we should come to this conclusion as Arjuna has come to the conclusion. So, and this is what has happened in the lives of many people who read the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So many, we hear from many Prabhupada disciples also how they read the Bhagavad Gita as it is and their life completely transformed. In fact, some 4 or 5 years back, His Grace Mukunda Datta Prabhu was here. He was explaining in one of the class at how a great impact happened in his life by reading Bhagavad Gita as it is. He said that he has read so many Bhagavad Gitas before coming in touch with Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. And then he said that he could not get exactly what they are trying to say. There are many details in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Many things were very unclear to him. He could not get it. And then he said that once he got Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, everything was crystal clear, everything was revealed very nicely. The points where he was able to relate, he was able to understand. This is the presentation of Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was so merciful. He made it the whole difficult subject matters also. He made it in such a way, in his Bhaktivedanta purpose, he has given so in a simple way so that we can try to approach it and understand the conclusions. And then, what is the next point? The next point is surrender our lives in Krishna's service. Doesn't matter what one is doing. One may be a family man, one may be old man, young man. But you can see people surrendered their lives. They walked, they tried to find out where is the Hare Krishna center, and then they come and then join. His Grace Haripad Prabhu, he was also explaining to us that this Bhagavad Gita he read, and then he was completely convinced there's really some transcendental message here. He was looking for the association of devotees. Where are the devotees? He just went, he shaved, and then he joined the movement. So many, we can hear so many people. There was another sannyasi who got Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. He just overnight, he was traveling. He was before I think a big marketing executive. I think he was traveling to so many different places and travel all around the world. So one time he came to Juhu from some devotees. He got Bhagavad Gita as it is. Overnight, continues that full stretch. He read one day, and then overnight fully he read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and he was fully convinced that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devotional service is the perfect process to be followed. So that should be the consequence. Okay, we'll continue. This purport is a very important purport. We will see. Prabhupada is giving many conclusions here. The constitutional position of a living entity, Prabhupada is pointing out that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the actual position of the living entity is that of an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Now, what is the major problem that we are all having? We are forgetting this important principle that we are eternal servants of Krishna. So, when we forget that we are eternal servants of Krishna, what will happen? We are influenced by the illusory potency of the Lord, Maya. And by Maya, what we are doing? We do not engage in our constitutional position as eternal servant of Krishna, but we are engaged in the service of Maya. This is what happens. So Prabhupada points out, if he serves the living entity's constitutional position is to be a servitor, he has to serve either the illusory Maya or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he is in his normal condition. But if he prefers to serve the illusory external energy, then certainly he will be in bondage. Okay, now Prabhupada is further explaining what is this illusion. What illusion Arjuna was into. In illusion, the living entity is serving in this material world. He is bound by his lust and desires. Yet he thinks of himself as the master of the world. This is called illusion. This is the greatest problem we have. We think we are the masters. We are not the masters. We are the servant. We should understand by hearing the Bhagavad Gita. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over, and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act according to his desires. The last illusion, the last snare of Maya, traps the living entity is the proposition that he is God. It's very nice also you can see in the Sri Vaishnava tradition also, whenever they, also in our culture also we see that specifically there is a word in Tamil they use. Whenever if you go and meet someone, how they will introduce themselves as Adiyen has come. Adiyen means the servant has come. That's how they identify. The identification itself is like that. Not so and so has come. Only, and also the replies will be like that. Adiyen, servant. That's why in our, at least we should practice. We write your servant, whether we are servant or not. That is another thing. But we should at least start to practice like this. We call others as Prabhu. Hey Prabhu. That's the whole point is lost, right? When you call Prabhu means you are addressing him as master. So what is the point? Always we remind ourselves to be the servant. In fact, there is a reference from, what was that? From Adi Purana or something. There is a reference that, in fact, Krishna is pleased. When someone claims, I am the devotee of Krishna, if he says, Krishna is not pleased. But Krishna is pleased when someone says, I am the devotee of the Lord. And Krishna is happy. That is the mood of our sampradaya. Gopi Bhritya Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Anudas. So we should always remain as the servant of the servant of the servant. That is the spirit. Okay. Now Prabhupada is discussing about what is this last snare of Maya. So what happens is when one becomes renounced, one is has taken the path of spiritual life, and then one is very much controlled with the senses and mind. And then there is a thought comes to in his mind. Maybe I am God. I am the controller of everything. So this is what Prabhupada is calling it as the last snare of Maya. This is Maya's last weapon. It can completely kill us. The Prabhupada is pointing out that the living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditioned soul, but God. He is so unintelligent that he does not think that if he were God, then how could he be in doubt? Simple point Prabhupada is raising here. What a foolish proposition that I am God. If you are God, why you are having so many doubts? Then he does not consider. So that is the last snare of illusion. Actually, to become free from the illusory energies, to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and agree to act according to his order. So this is the whole point. So now, we have to agree to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. Now, further Prabhupada is pointing out that what is this moha? Moha refers to that which is opposed to knowledge. Or what is knowledge? Knowledge is that teachings given by the Supreme Lord. That is real knowledge. Actually, real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is eternally a servitor of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not a servant, that he is a master of this material world, for he wants to lord it over the material nature. That is his illusion. But further he points out the mercy of the Lord and his pure devotee. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of a pure devotee. When that illusion is over, one agrees to act in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. It's a simple another definition is giving. Many places Prabhupada defines Krishna consciousness in various ways. Here he says, Krishna consciousness means acting according to Krishna's order, not according to our whimsical mind's order. Now here Prabhupada is giving some of the conclusions of the scriptures. What the conditioned soul does not know. A conditioned soul, illusioned by the external energy of matter, does not know that the Supreme Lord is the Master, who is full of knowledge and who is a proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires he can bestow upon his devotees. He is the friend of everyone and is especially inclined to his devotee. He is the controller of this material nature and of all living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time and he is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can give himself to the devotee. So one who does not know him is under the spell of illusion. He does not become a devotee but a servitor of Maya. So these are all the secrets. First of all, to know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has complete control over everything. He is a controller of the time also. And then he is very, very affectionate to his devotees. Bhakta Vatsalya, quality of the Lord. This, only when you know this, then you can understand that Krishna can save a person from any situation. He has the power to do it. So, this is the point. When you are in Maya, we don't understand this. Sometimes also now it happens that we are too smart. We say that even Krishna cannot protect me. I am such a person. And then what you are doing, you are in Maya. You don't take any steps to come forward. Okay. Another definition Prabhupada is giving. To study Bhagavad Gita means what? To understand Krishna factually. That means what? To understand Krishna properly. That is a person, is the reality that we understand. So then Prabhupada concludes the purport. So this is another interesting point. See how Prabhupada concludes. He says, when Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plan to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapons, his arrows and bow, to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the whole secret. So what is it that we all should understand? What? By reading Bhagavad Gita, we should understand Krishna's plan. What is Krishna's plan? Krishna's plan is that he wants all of us to become his devotee. So he specifically wanted Arjuna to fight in this warfare. What was Krishna's plan? He wants to reduce the burden of this earth, of all the asuras who are dominating this world. Krishna wanted to remove the burden. So he wanted Arjuna to fight. So that's Prabhupada's concluding that. Now there's a very brilliant commentaries by the Acharyas. We will see the commentary of Sripad Ramanujacharya. He very nicely sums it up. Srila Prabhupada covered many of those points as well. Now we will see what he says. He says, Nashto moha smritir labda. Delusion is gone. Memory is the knowledge of things as they are. So he says that real knowledge, in real knowledge, you'll know exactly what is meant for what. But when you are in the laws of knowledge, you do not know what is what. So he says that the various phases of knowledge that cleared the misunderstanding are listed as follows. So you will be in misunderstanding. When you do not have proper knowledge, you will misunderstand everything. So what are all those misunderstandings he is discussing? The self is different from Prakriti, devoid of the qualities of Prakriti, and its nature is to be the knower of the Prakriti. So that means what? When we start to identify ourselves with the body, right? So that, but actually says that self is different from Prakriti. We are not this body. We are not this any of these material elements. The soul is different from the body. So that first point is pointing out. Then he says, the self is subordinate and servant of the Lord and is ruled by him. Correct? We are actually not the masters. We are subordinates. We are the servants. And we are actually meant to be ruled by the Supreme Lord. Okay. He, Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Person, is the great ocean of all auspicious attributes, such as knowledge, strength, glory, valor, power, brilliance, etc., which are unbounded and natural. He is the origin, sustainer, and dissolution of the entire universe, and it is his pastime to do so. You see, same points Prabhupada made also. He is glorifying the, you see, when we are not in proper knowledge, we will not know Krishna's 6 opulences, Krishna's great qualities. We are not aware of it. So all this, he's saying, he's the origin, he's the sustainer. He's the one who is destroying. He's the one who is engaged in all these pastimes. Shrishtir Madhuram. Vallabhacharya in his song, he says, even the creation, although the Lord is, how the Lord does the creation, he does it through by his glancing, creation happens. So everything the Lord is engaged in. So he says that knowledge also we should have, he says. Then he says, you Sri Krishna or Vasudeva, the Supreme Person, known from Vedanta and only reached by Bhakti. So the Lord is known only by devotion. Bhaktyamam abhi janati. So that also Srimad Madhvacharya is pointing out. And Bhakti can be achieved by the control of the senses and the mind. By the abandonment of sins and all acts meant for sense gratification. And by performance of all acts for the pleasure of the Lord only. See, this is again a very essential point we learn. That this is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took 2 important conclusions from from the Madhva Sampradaya, from the Sri Sampradaya, from Rudra Sampradaya and Kumara Sampradaya. And specifically from Sri Sampradaya, he took the great quality of Guru or Seva, the service to the spiritual master, or the service to the Vaishnavas. And then this very important point of pure devotional service. Devotion without the tinge of karma and jnana. These are the 2 points he took from Ramanujacharya. So we can see here, the Ramanujacharya is emphasizing that, that all activities should be done simply for Krishna's pleasure. That is what is pure devotion, right? Without expecting anything in return. Okay. Then he says, Bhakti has to be developed day after day through regular practice of the discriminatory knowledge of the higher and lower truths. So this is the whole point. Not that now, today is the last session of the Bhagavad Gita and everything is over. Now we will close, we write the exam on Sunday and then we will keep it in the shelf, keep Bhagavad Gita as it is and then do puja. No, we have to read every day. Every day we should read this. Every day we should try to understand. We should try to hear the conclusions. That is the point here. Sripad Ramanujacharya is pointing out. Okay. Now there is an interesting conversation that took place between the Lord and Arjuna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is capturing to us. He is giving this information. He says, what else can I ask? Having given up when Arjuna is responding like this, what else can I ask? Having given up all duties, surrendering to you completely, without worries, I am now completely trust you. Thus he speaks this verse. In this mood, Arjuna has spoken this Nashto Moha Smritir Labda. Now he says, I am ready to follow you who are worthy of surrender. That is the duty of me, who have surrendered to you. I have no use for following my Varna and Ashrama, nor Jnana Yoga or other processes. Starting today, I have given them all up. Oh my dear friend Arjuna, I have some remaining work to do in relieving the burden of the earth. So when Arjuna spoke like this, Krishna is responding. So Arjuna, I have some remaining work to do in relieving the burden of the earth. I want you to do that work. That work means I want you to fight, Arjuna. Yes, when the Lord said this, Arjuna with Gandiva bow in hand rose to fight. So he took the Gandiva and he began to fight. So this is what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has pointed out. Okay, same thing Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu says. We'll go to the next verse. Text 74. Sanjaya uvacha ityahang vasudevasya partasya cha mahatmanah sangvadam imam ashrausham adbhutam romaharshanam. Sanjaya said, thus I have heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. He says, ityaham vasudevasya partasya. Vasudeva and Partha, this conversation I heard, great personalities, Mahatmana, Sangvadam, their conversation, Imam Ashrausham. I heard this. And he says, Adbhutam, wonderful, he says. And then he says, Roma Harsham, he says, Romancha. When it will happen to us like this? Roma Harsham, we open the Bhagavad Gita and we read, Romancha. Romancha means, hair should raise, Sometimes for us what happens? Something else happens. We feel sleepy. Anyway, that if we just continue to stick to hearing Bhagavad Gita from Prabhupada and other bona fide devotees regularly, we will also be very much inclined. Like how Sanjaya was so enthusiastic, with rapt attention he's hearing, and then he's ecstatic. He says, what was wonderful in this conversation? Prabhupada is making a point. He says, Adbhutam, no? What is this Adbhutam? Prabhupada is pointing out. Prabhupada is bringing to the limelight. He's saying, the entire study was related to the heart of Sanjaya by the grace of his spiritual master Vyasa. So he says he was able to see what has happened by the mercy of Vyasa. Vyasa gave him the vision. The conversation was wonderful because such an important conversation between two great souls had never taken place before and would not take place again. It was wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity Arjuna, a great devotee of the Lord. So two reasons he is giving. That this conversation, na bhuto, na bhavishyati. It will never happen in the past, it will never happen in the future. That's one. Second reason what he is saying, Supreme Lord himself is speaking about his glories. That's why this Gita is considered a very special literature. The Lord himself is speaking. Gita-su Gita kartavyam kimanyai shastra vishtarai yasvayam padmanabhasya mukapadda vinishrita. Shankara says that what is speciality of this Bhagavad Gita? That swayam padmanabhasya, yasvayam padmanabhasya, Supreme Lord himself is speaking. So same thing Prabhupada is pointing out here. Now he says how to be happy and successful. So he says that if we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. So you want to be happy and successful? Take Bhagavad Gita as it is, read Bhagavad Gita as it is, distribute Bhagavad Gita as it is. Then life will be happy and successful. Okay, let's go to text 75. Vyasa prasadat shrutavan etad guhyam ahang param yogam yogeshwarat krishnat sakshat katayata swayam. By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. So here he says, Vyasa prasadat shrutavan. I have heard Vyasa prasadat. By the mercy of Vyasa, I heard this. Etad guhyam ahang param. Very confidential talks I have heard from the Supreme Lord. Yogam yogeshwarat krishnat. So I was able, yoga ishwarat. Krishna is called as the master of all the yogas. Sakshat katayata swayam. So personally I was able to hear this. I mean personally means Arjuna heard it personally from Krishna and I was able to hear this conversation that went on between them. So here, Prabhupada is pointing out in the purport that by the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjaya heard it. This means that one has to understand Krishna not directly but through the medium of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the transparent medium, although it is true that the experience is still direct. This is the mystery of the disciplic succession. This is a great mystery, that one can hear. When we hear in parampara, the same effect is experienced as Krishna has heard it from, Arjuna has heard it from Krishna. Similarly, also in the Bhagavatam, when you see in the second canto, Krishna heard the entire Vedas from, Brahma heard the entire Vedas from whom? From the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And then Narada will hear it from Brahma. The same effect. So in our song we sing, the Guru Prabhupada, Krishna hoite Chaturmukha, hoi Krishna Sevonmukha, Brahma hoite Naradhera Mati. Then parampara, Narada hoite Vyas, and it comes in parampara like that. Okay. So Prabhupada speaks about how Krishna is the master of all the yogas. And Krishna already said that Yoginam api sarvesham. Of all the yogis, Krishna is the topmost yogi. That is being confirmed as well. And okay. Now Prabhupada further is pointing out in the commentary. He says, it is as good as when one hears in parampara, it is as good as hearing from Krishna himself. If one does not come to the disciplic succession, he cannot hear Krishna. Therefore, his knowledge is always imperfect. At least as far as understanding Bhagavad Gita is concerned. In Bhagavad Gita, all the yoga systems, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are explained. Krishna is the master of all such mysticism. If it is to be understood, however, that as Arjuna was fortunate enough to understand Krishna directly, so by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjaya was also able to hear Krishna directly. Actually, there is no difference between hearing directly from Krishna and hearing directly from Krishna via a bona fide spiritual master like Vyasa. And Prabhupada concludes that why we are doing this, celebrating Vyasa Puja. The spiritual master is the representative of Vyasa Deva also. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, on the birthday of the spiritual master, the disciples conduct the ceremony called Vyasa Puja, because by his mercy we are getting this transcendental knowledge. He does the job of Vyasa. The Vyasa gave this transcendental knowledge. Similarly, the spiritual masters who are coming in parampara, they are giving this transcendental knowledge. Chakudan diloje janme janme prabhu say. By the transcendental knowledge, they are giving the divya gyan, hriday prakashita. By that, the knowledge is revealed to us in our heart. Okay. Let's go to text 76. Rajan sangsmritya sangvadam imam adbhutam keshavarjuna yo punyam hrishyami cha muhurmuhu. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. So he says, muhurmuhu, every moment. What is happening? Keshavarjunayo punyam, the conversation between Keshava and Arjuna. When I just think about it, and remember this, sangsmritya samsmritya. He says, what is the result? Adbhutam. I am really thrilled. I am really enchanted by this great discussion. The result of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada in the purport is pointing out that the result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. This is the bliss of Krishna consciousness, Krishna consciousness is never dull, never morose. It's every second, it's performed with great satisfaction and happiness, and it's very, very, one goes through a great experience of happiness, because Krishna is like that. Krishna, the very personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna is Nava Yauvanam, and then every second, Krishna is very, very unpredictable. Every second, it's not the same thing. That's why we see also in the Bhakti-śāstra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the very first verse, he is pointing out this, that Cheto dharpanam arjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vetranam vidyavadu jivanam anandang buddhivardhanam pratipadam. Pratipada means in every step. Purnamrita swadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. He says the chanting of the holy names of the Lord is so glorious. Every step one experiences great bliss. It's Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. Vardhana means it's ever expanding. Not that, that's why you see Prabhupada also used to say, see how these devotees are continuously chanting Hare Krishna. How it is possible? Because it is not mundane, it is not material. It is spiritual potency. Spiritual potency is ever expanding. There is no limit. There is no, you cannot come to a conclusion. It is unlimited. So when we come in touch with Krishna, when we come in touch with Krishna's service, it is like this. The more a person becomes purified, the more he experiences great bliss. He never feels bored. There is no boredom in Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhuji, but I am not. We are a clear condition. We are not purified from our anarthas. But even in the conditioned state, also we can feel the bliss of Krishna consciousness when we come in association of pure devotees. When they chant, when they hear, when they speak, when they engage, when they lead, we immediately when we are getting such an inspiration. How is that? Because Krishna is potent. Krishna is present within them. They are actually giving the Lord to us. That is why Prabhupada also pointed out in one of the earlier verses. He says, Satang prasangan mama virya samvido. In the association of devotees, we have to engage in the devotional service. That's the whole key. That's the whole success story behind it. So here Sanjaya is experiencing that. That is great bliss. So that should be our that we should come to that state as well. That should be very eager to come and then hear the Bhagavad Gita, come and then hear Bhagavatam. We should be eager to read Prabhupada's books. We should be eager to engage in the service of the Lord. We should ask for aniyor. We should ask for more. Not that we should escape. We should ask for more service. That should be the attitude. And naturally, it will happen when we are in proper consciousness and when we are in proper association. This is the result. Okay, text 77. Tacha sangsmritya rupam atyadbhutam harehe vismayo me mahan rajan rishyame cha punah. O king, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. So first he said he's remembering the conversation, and now he's remembering the form of the Lord as well. Okay. Punah, again and again. He says, Rupam atyadbhutam harehe. Now he's speaking about the form. So here, Prabhupada is pointing out that it appears that Sanjaya also by the grace of Vyasa could see the universal form Krishna exhibited to Arjuna. It is of course said that Lord Krishna had never exhibited such a form before. So here, he says, it was exhibited to Arjuna only, yet some great devotees could only see the universal form of Krishna, which we already discussed before when discussing the universal form in that chapter. He is one of the great devotees of the Lord, and he is considered to be a powerful incarnation of Krishna. Who? Vyasadeva. Vyasa disclosed this to his disciple Sanjaya, who remembered that wonderful form of Krishna exhibited to Arjuna and enjoyed it repeatedly. So Vyasa was a literary incarnation of Krishna. So by his mercy, Sanjaya could see the universal form of the Lord, and he was trying to remember that, and he was very, very much excited by remembering that. Okay, now we'll go to the last verse, and again an important verse. Krishna is now pointing out. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Sanjaya is expressing his realization. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Important verse to memorize. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna. Yogeshwara is again Krishna's name. He is the master of all the mysticism. Dhanurdharaha. So Arjuna is called as Dhanurdharaha, the carrier of the bow and arrow. Tatra. So what are all the results when the two personalities are present, Krishna and Arjuna? Shrir, there is opulence, there is Vijaya, victory, and then Bhutir means exceptional power, then Dhruva means certainty, or here, Nitihi, so once it said extraordinary power, and then morality, that is being pointed out. Morality means Nitihi, so that is whose opinion? Yes, Sanjaya's opinion. Sanjaya is pointing out that. And at the beginning of this purport, Prabhupada is pointing out Dhritarashtra, at the beginning he asked this question, no? What are my sons and Pandu's sons, what they are doing? Oh, here is the answer Sanjay is giving. No, Dhritarashtra was we should be disappointed hearing this. No? So he says, the Bhagavad Gita began with an inquiry of Dhritarashtra. He was hopeful to the victory of his sons, assisted by great warriors like Bhishma, Drona and Karna. He was hopeful that the victory would be on his side, but after describing the scene on the battlefield, Sanjaya told the king, you are thinking of victory, but my opinion is that where Krishna and Arjuna are present, there will be all good fortune. So all good fortune, what does that mean? He directly confirmed that Dhritarashtra could not expect victory for his side. Victory was certain for the side of Arjuna because Krishna was there. The Prabhupada further, he goes on to explain about Krishna's personality of Krishna. Krishna's acceptance of the post of charioteer for Arjuna was an exhibition of another opulence. Krishna is full of opulences and renunciation is one of them. There are many instances of such renunciation, for Krishna is also the master of renunciation. It's amazing, no? Who will do such an act? So Prabhupada is pointing out here that this is one of the opulence. Sometimes we may think, okay, one is very rich, one is very powerful. How renunciation can be an opulence? And it cannot be exhibited by everyone. Only great personalities can exhibit it. Krishna is setting the standard. So such a opulence that Krishna is having. He's ready to drive the chariot for his devotees. Prabhupada is immediately pointing out. That is Krishna's great quality. He says that he is a master of renunciation as well. So Prabhupada is pointing out that Sanjaya is giving further prediction. What he says, it is also predicted here that Yudhishthira, after gaining victory in this battle, would flourish more and more because not only was he righteous and pious, but he was also a strict moralist. He never spoke a lie during his life. So he says that Yudhishthira became he's going to be definitely he's going to rule the world. That's what is being pointed out. He never spoke a lie. There is one amazing thing that also, what is real morality? That is also we can discuss. Real morality is to follow whatever Krishna says. Krishna's dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Whatever Krishna speaks, that is dharma. That is the real morality. Yudhishthira is certainly a great devotee of the Lord. Never he has spoken a lie. He never has enemies as well. There was only one instance where Yudhishthira at one point of time was little hesitant to follow Krishna's order. So when Krishna suggested to speak a lie to Yudhishthira was hesitant. He was thinking, how can I tell a lie? When he wanted to kill, when Dronacharya has to be killed, so he wanted Yudhishthira to say that, the Ashwatthama died. You just say that, Ashwatthama, the elephant, you died. You died. So, but Yudhishthira was thinking for a moment, how can I tell a lie like that? So the acharyas are giving a commentary that always it is that Yudhishthira's chariot was always, say 1 feet or 2 feet above the ground. Always it was driving like that. But then when he spelled out that, Ashwatthama, so he said even he used the word the elephant. Ashwatthama, the elephant, at the time, what Bhima blew the conch, right? He just blew the conch. And then Ashwatthama, the elephant, died. So when he just said that, the chariot came down. It touched the ground. So some of the so-called moralists who do not know, so because he spoke a lie, the chariot came down, they say. But the acharyas are giving the explanation that the chariot came down not because of that, because Yudhishthira was little hesitant to immediately accept what Krishna said. So that's why the chariot came down, they say. So that's another interest. So why we are just discussing this point? The point is that who is really a moral person, who abides by the instructions of Krishna. Whatever Krishna is asking you want to do, simply you have to do that. That is the perfection of life. Okay. Now Prabhupada is refuting several misconceptions in the conclusions of this, in this purport. So he says, there are many less intelligent persons who take Bhagavad Gita to be a discussion of topics between two friends on a battlefield. People think like that also. This is just some conversation between two friends. And so they say that, but such a book cannot be a scripture, they think like that. Then they say that, then what do they say? Actually, you see, this is not proper at all. No, Krishna, this whole war was because of Krishna. They say like that. Krishna incited Arjuna to fight, which is immoral, they say. What do they know? What idea they have? So these are all misconceptions. Bhagavad Gita is the supreme instruction in morality. The supreme instruction of morality is stated in the 9th chapter in the 34th verse. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha. One must become a devotee of Krishna. The essence of all religion is to surrender unto Krishna. Sarvadharman parityajya. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita constitute the supreme process of religion and of morality. So that is the whole point. That one may be very soft, gentle, but if he is not a devotee of the Lord, what is the point? Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvai gunai tatra samasate suraha harava bhaktasya kuto mahat guna manoratena sati davatobi. Bhagavatam is pointing out what is the use of all your great qualities, but if you are just going to have, it's all just hovering on the mental platform. If you are not surrendering your life to the, without selflessly surrendering in the service of the Lord, then such a person is actually considered to be highly moral, highly religious, and he is a person of exceptional character. Okay, now Prabhupada is further concluding what is the essence of the essence and the verdict of the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. All other processes may be purifying and may lead to this process, but the last instruction of the Gita is the last word in all morality and religion. Surrender unto Krishna. This is the verdict of the 18th chapter. From Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that to realize oneself by philosophical speculation and by meditation is one process, but to fully surrender to Krishna is the highest perfection. This is the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, again, Prabhupada is reminding about the confidential, more confidential and most confidential. Guhyat, guhyataram, guhyatamam. The path of regulatory principles according to the orders of social life and according to the different courses of religion may be a confidential path of knowledge. But although the rituals of religion are confidential, meditation and cultivation of knowledge are still more confidential. And surrender unto Krishna in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness is the most confidential instruction. This is the essence of the 18th chapter. So finally, what is the ultimate point? We have to surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna and become his devotees. And engage in his devotional service. Yes, not to forget that. And now Prabhupada is summarizing the important philosophical conclusions by studying the Bhagavad Gita. So let's go through that. So what did we learn? We learned that the absolute truth can be realized in three phases. Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Then if one understands Krishna, then all the departments of knowledge are part and parcel of that understanding. If we know Krishna, then we know everything actually. Yomam evam asammudo Janati Purushottam. Sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Okay. And Krishna is transcendental, for he is always situated in his eternal internal potency. Krishna is not covered by the external potency. He is not covered by Maya. Rather, everything he is performing by his internal potency. Sambhavam yatma maya. Remember that verse. Okay. And what else? Prabhupada is pointing out that there are two kinds of souls. One is conditioned, another soul is liberated. We discussed that also. We are all fundamental parts of Krishna. Another point we discussed. Then, so how the creation happens? Creation happens again by the will of the Lord. He is the seed-giving Father. That was discussed. And another important philosophical conclusion also Srila Prabhupada is discussing in this purport. He also discussed it before. So what is that? The philosophy of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Prabhupada is pointing out that here. Let's read that. In the Bhagavad Gita, 5 principal subject matters have been discussed. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, material nature, the living entities, eternal time, and all kinds of activities. All is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. All conceptions of the absolute truth, impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and any other transcendental conception exist within the category of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although superficially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, material nature, and the time appear to be different, nothing is different from the Supreme. See? What is this? Everything is different, at the same time everything is same. What is this? Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Yes. But the Supreme is always different from everything. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that of inconceivable oneness and difference. This system of philosophy constitutes perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. So Prabhupada gives the example of the sun and the sunshine, which we have discussed before. So I'm just skipping that, just going to the point. Now here you see at the conclusion of the purport, Prabhupada is speaking of one very important message. We will read that. In other words, what in other words? Now I have to read the sentence before that. Okay. Lord Krishna may be compared to the sun and the living entities to sunshine. Because the living entities are the marginal energy of Krishna. They have a tendency to be in contact either with the material energy or with the spiritual energy. Okay. Now Prabhupada says, in other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord. And because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he has a particle of independence, which we are all aware of. Now he says, by proper use of that independence, he comes under the direct order of Krishna. We have to be intelligent and use our independence properly. Thus he attains his normal condition in the pleasure-giving potency. So who is that pleasure-giving potency? Internal potency. What is his internal potency? It is Ladini Shakti, isn't it? Ladini Shakti, yes. See, finally, so we have to be from external potency, we have to be in internal potency. So what are we doing? We are pleading Krishna every day in our japa. So how we are approaching Krishna, not directly through parampara, and through parampara it goes through to Srimati Radharani, and through that to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What is the meaning of it? We are begging Krishna, oh energy of Krishna, please engage me in your service. This is what we are hankering. So we are in the service of Maya, and from the service of Maya we want to get into the service of Krishna. So that is why we are chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So with this we are concluding the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, that we take complete shelter of Krishna, we become his servant, and then we glorify Krishna. That is the perfection of life. So we will see here a couple of commentaries, what is being said here by the previous acharyas. Srila Sridhar Swami is pointing out, he's writing it straight like this. Sanjaya tells Dhritarashtra, better give up the hope of your sons getting the kingdom. Therefore, even now, with your sons, take refuge in Sri Krishna. Satisfy Pandavas and offer everything to them. And thus save your sons. This is the idea. He says, even now it's not late. Better you go along with all your sons, fall at the feet of Krishna. And everything will be perfect. Do that. Like that he's pointing out. So he says, he who is devoted to Lord easily attains freedom from bondage by means of knowledge of the self attained through his grace. This is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So you take shelter of Krishna, Krishna will save you. This is the essence, he says. Okay, now some nectar. Please listen. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary is pointing out, as for the commentary on the last 5 verses, which brings out the purport of the whole Gita, they were written on 2 pages. He says, I have written it on 2 pages, which have been taken away by the carrier of Ganesha, a rat. I have not bothered to write them again. They were a trifling matter. Let that be. Thus the commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita called Sarartha Darshini have been completed. So he says that I wrote the commentary for the 5 verses. It was just contained in 2 pages. But what happened when I came and saw in the morning, all those commentaries were, the mouse ate it. Ganesha's carrier ate it. Oh, so I'm not going to rewrite it. It's all trifling matter. Whatever has to be said, everything is said, everything is done. Let it be so. This is Krishna's plan. So he says, now with this, the Sarartha Darshini. So that's a commentary on by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. He says, that is all over. Now he gives blessings to all those listeners. He says, may this shower of meanings of the essence of scripture, which give benefit to the whole world, delight the devotee Chataka birds with its sweetness, and may the pleasure they derive from it light up my heart. So he says that, let whomsoever hears this Bhagavad Gita, he's comparing the devotees like Chataka bird. You know what is Chataka bird? Chataka bird, what it does not drink the metro water or the Kaveri water, whatever. It just drinks the water, direct rain water. No, that is the water it drinks. Other than that, it will be, fasting. Really, it does fasting, not like the politicians. Real fasting. Only that water it will drink. So he says, the devotees, they are just with so much eagerness hearing this transcendental message of Bhagavad Gita. So let them get the sweetness. And then when they are happy hearing this commentary and all this, he says, my heart also, I will also be like, he says, I am very satisfied with that. Thus end the commentaries on the 18th chapter of the Gita for the pleasure of the devotees' hearts by the mercy of the acharyas. So now Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, he is pointing out, one should not worry that this scripture is favoring war. It is not so. The instructions are Manmana Bhava Madbhakta and Sarvadharman Parityajya. It is clear that the prescribed actions according to the 4 varnas and ashramas, including fighting have been delineated for the purification of the heart and for teaching the populace. Same thing Srila Prabhupada discussed in the purport. There are many methods, but among them, surrender, along with the attitude of being a servant, quickly pleases Vishnu. This is the conclusion of the 18th chapter. So then he says, in the Gita, the supreme truth Krishna, filled with all spiritual qualities, who drank the breast milk of Yashoda, who became the charioteer of Krishna, is glorified. Attaining the fulfillment of my desires, I immerse myself in the milk ocean of the Gita, but I have not been able to lift the jewel of very wonderful meanings out of the ocean, though I have understood to some degree. See the humility of the great acharyas. So much he has explained. He says, I am not able to understand the meaning. So much is there. In this way, my master, the joyful son of Nanda, with great delight, shows his affection for me. With care, Vidya Bhushana has attended upon this commentary called Srimad Bhagavad Gita Bhushana. O devotees who are greedy for the sweetness of prema of Sri Govinda, filled with mercy, please purify this work. So he says, you read and then you all get mercy. So this is the glory of this entire Bhagavad Gita. And one last thing I wanted to say and conclude this. See, in this last 10 verses we have been discussing, so there has been a discussion about, who is envious, who is not a devotee, who is not austere. All these things, Krishna is explaining the Bhagavad Gita. But then, the same Lord Sri Krishna, he comes as Lord Chaitanya. What he does, he just, just everyone, anyone, what are you? He's a demon, everyone. He's just he's just giving this mercy. He's just pouring this mercy. So, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and all the people who are Asurik, non-Asurik, everyone can get the mercy. So Krishna, so where Bhagavad Gita ends, you can see, actually Bhagavad Gita ends with the verse, Sarvadharman Parityajya. Okay? So then this becomes the discussion, the main, the Srimad Bhagavatam begins from that point. Where Sarvadharman Parityajya, where it ends, there Bhagavatam begins. It says, Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo. That's where the Bhagavatam begins. So, a humble request for all the devotees. Bhagavad Gita is not over with this. We have nectar of devotion to study. Another 3 weeks to go. But to tell you the fact that we have to every day read Bhagavad Gita, we have to absorb in Srila Prabhupada's purpose. We should try to read and then we should try to apply the teachings. We should be very enthusiastic to distribute Prabhupada's books. We should engage in the devotional service. We should enthusiastically chant, participate in the programs, and we should become inspired, and then we should inspire others, save so many lives of so many people who are struggling in this material world. That's why we are having this course. That's why we are having this program. So thank you very much for all the devotees who went through it patiently and studied and then really cooperated with this. Thank you very much. So we will have the exam on Sunday, same time, 3:30. And I'll again reminding all those devotees, the last day for submitting the essays will be on Wednesday. The next Wednesday will be the last day for submitting the essays. So we are giving you Monday 1 day, Tuesday 1 day, 2 day for 2 essays. And Wednesday, you please submit the essays. And if anybody has got any doubts or any questions or any clarifications, you can please send message through WhatsApp, not only from this chapter or any other chapter, anything that you read. So we will try to help you out on that. And one other request, that there are others, specifically I'm speaking to those devotees who are attending the program here locally. You have not given the scanned copy of your exam papers, which we require. So if you have not done it, please, maximum by this Sunday, along with the 18th chapter, give all your answer papers. Please send it by WhatsApp to Jai Gopal Prabhu. Please send it. You know his number. So we want it for our records. So if you do not do that, then it will be very difficult for us to continue with the course. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Hare Krishna.